This is the greatest moment in my life.
The man to beat me haven't been born yet.
I have no followers. I have only brothers and sisters, all in the name of cause.
I am the best on this microphone. Nobody can touch me.
I got enemies, got a lot of enemies, got a lot of people trying to drain me of the synergy.
All right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, happy to welcome on a well-regarded battle rapper. I've got RD the Chef. He's battled for pretty much every platform you've ever heard of, and even the ones he has, and he looks like he's trying to cross those off his list. I've got Real Deal on the show. How's it going, man?
Good, man. Good, fam. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, good to talk to you again and catch up a little bit. I noticed, we're meeting your first goal of 2019, though. You're getting in some miles on the treadmill there, so big shout out to that.
My man, yeah, it's not the most enjoyable experience, but you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the beer you drink doesn't really help so much with the cardio there, eh?
No, none of those two don't. It's not a perfect marriage.
I'm kind of curious as to, like what your son's best impression is. It seems like, that runs in the family a little bit. You got your Michael Rappaport impression, and he's got a couple in his.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what's your son's best impression at this point, you think?
I think, and I've talked to him about this a lot. I think my son's best impersonations are like cartoon people. Like he does a really good Beavis and Butthead. You know what I mean? He does a really good Peter Griffin and all those guys. He's starting to get a lot better with real people. But yeah, I would say the top. He does a really good Mort from Family Guy, the pharmacy guy. And as far as regular people, I like his walking a lot. His walking's pretty good. And I actually like his TJ Miller.
Oh, that's kind of an underrated one.
Pretty funny. Yeah, it's left field, but yeah, man. So he's just been doing that, man. He's been real studious with it, man. So I'm excited about it. For his birthday, we got him to meet, Aries Spears yet, and Jay Farrell shouted him out, so he was talking about it. So, yeah, I'm excited, man.
Yeah, but how did things get going there with the whole Michael Rappaport situation there? I noticed Dean Rappaport was kind of coming out of the woodwork, too. Are you still getting any kind of, residual internet interactions from that, or has it kind of died down?
Yeah, it's died down. I so basically, I had seen a Michael Rappaport, 2 years ago. I saw him, kind of go off on a tangent on a rapper or something, right? And my first thought was this is kind of funny. I remember Michael Rappaport, haha, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's funny, random. But then I seen he just kept doing it. It was and it was he was attacking people that clearly don't make music for him. And then, none of his hot takes on hip-hop were, risky or outside of the most bland, you know what I mean? Reasonable Doubt's incredible. Illmatic's incredible. Yeah, dude, cool, man. You know what I mean? We get it. But then he would, like I said, he would just go on these, young, I don't listen to Lil Xan or those dudes, but they don't make music for me. You know what I'm saying? Why would I? And then he went off, he had some left field tweets about Ariana Grande. Dude, it reminds me of when Eminem was going at all these people, but Eminem raps. You know what I'm saying? So Eminem was, he was being funny and just, you know what I mean, throwing shade, but he was doing it while rapping. This dude's just doing random things about, this little and then he's mad because these interviewers are setting these dudes up for failure too. What do you think of Tupac? Why ask that Lil Xan dude that anyway? Who cares what he thinks? So anyway, man, so Rappaport, man, he just every other week, man, or not every other week, but every month or so, man, Rappaport blasts this. I'm thinking, who the hell is Michael Rappaport? You know what I mean? Oh, and then I love when people are like, yo, he knew Ice Cube and shit. So what? You know what I mean? I don't care. Who is he? When did he become the gatekeeper of who's dope and who's got a good skill set? So I seen the Kodak Black one, which ironically Kodak Black, it's a train wreck with him. But
yeah, that didn't maybe age the best, I guess.
Well, I mean, when I came out about it, I wasn't really even in defense of whether Kodak is good or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just like the
To
bigger
me, it was
picture of
more
like, why are you like mocking this kid who, like you said
yeah,
before, clearly
like,
isn't
it
making
could have
music
been
for you.
Kodak, right? It could have been Kodak or Tentacion or whoever. I would have been like, bro, Rappaport, you are corny. So honestly, I was just bullshitting, man. I was on my way to the bar, like that's literally outside of the bar, and all of a sudden it caught fire on Twitter. And it's kind of funny because of all the stuff I've done for that to catch fire like that in the same week that the mental health thing caught fire. So it's like one thing I'd much rather be known for is the mental health than like doing a bar impression of Rappaport outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about that too. Because it seems like it's getting traction, like the mental health battle there, like for Lad Bible and everything like that. Did that kind of go off exactly as you wanted it to, just as far as like not just the response, obviously, because that's been great, but also just the execution of it? Because that round you had there to close things out was really emotional.
Yeah, man, it was wild. Everything kind of fell into place, man, like perfectly. Like Liam had hit me up a while ago and, hey, you interested in doing this? I was like, absolutely. So, we had a compliment battle. And originally I had O'Shea. It was supposed to be me versus O'Shea. And, they had to push the date a couple times. And then by the time that the day came around, I go out. And the day I literally land, and they're like, yeah, we've seen some tweets that O'Shea put up a week ago or whatever. We can't be associated with O'Shea. Like, this was what Lad Bible said. And you'd have to know O'Shea to understand he's just busting chops, like being funny. But I guess they were like, yeah, we can't, you know what I mean? So I happened to be around Frankie Frazier. He was kicking and everything. I'm like, yo, man, if you could put something together in 24 hours, you know what I mean? Just we'll take it from a 3-rounder to a 1-rounder. You know what I mean? I'll trim a lot of stuff, and it'll just be 1 round. You know what I mean? I even said, I was like, I think that'll probably be better anyway, because as good as Roan and Pat were, and that was incredible, by the late second round, I kind of got the gist of it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Frankie was a trooper about it, man. You know what I mean? And we were drinking that night and everything, man. He went home, and he put a round together, man. And the venue was very receptive, and they loved the comedy part first, and I used that to kind of get their attention and reel them in. And then, yeah, man, it was one of the things, like I said, even the things that looked like negatives that, we didn't see coming ended up being positives, man. So, yeah, it was great, man.
Yeah, and I noticed that you were, sharing it and like retweeting it at one point, and then you kind of tagged Pat Stay in one of them, and he's like, "Oh, you want this compliment smoke, sir?" Do you think you guys are gonna be talking that encouraging shit before the end of 2019?
I think so, man. It's funny because in the same thing with Pat, I was supposed to be the compliment battle for Pat Stay before Roan, but I had something booked, so Pat reached out to Roan, and of course, it ended up being incredible. So it just, all these things happen perfectly. But we always talked about how we think, you know what I mean, with the dry humor and sarcasm and whatnot, we thought it would be pretty funny. So yeah, man, I think we're trying to put that together, man, for like a festival or something, like I said, man. And this time, with it being like just a full-on compliment thing, man, like we got some ideas cooking to really put some hype around it and whatnot. But yeah, that would definitely be something I'd be interested in. And not that I want to make a career out of doing 150 different compliment battles, but I think that one in particular would be cool.
Well, I think you have a strong enough output otherwise where people wouldn't really think that. Like, even since the last time we talked, I mean, it just seems like you've taken dozens and dozens of battles, but it doesn't come off in a way where like the material gets watered down because of it. I mean, like the Soul Battle, for instance, or when you battled Ellipsis, and just all the different platforms you're battling on too. So just, very versatile on that end of things. But I also noticed the whole 100 Bullets shout out. You're shouting out how, great his beats were and stuff like that. And the last time we talked was actually ahead of the 100 Bullets battle you had there. So I think that's kind of the cool thing about battle rap. Like, can you speak to that whole thing of like, it's inherently combative in the sense of you have opponents that you face off. It's like a one-on-one kind of thing, but the culture seems just, super supportive too.
Bro, it is, man, and I was explaining this to somebody before. I can't remember. It was the other day, man. They were talking about, they had seen some of my battles, and they're like, oh, man, you were, like, in that dude's face or whatever. So they've probably seen some older battles, right? And I'm like, yeah, man, over the years, I kind of dialed that back a little bit and focused more on just pen and witty bars and sarcasm and stuff, because it was weird for me to be like barking on somebody and then just having a beer with them right after. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like energy is different. Like Briz Rothstein or something. Like he's just energy. You know what I'm saying? That's different.
Oh, yeah.
So like that, like with, it's one thing to perform and be loud and, deliver something here and there. But I felt like in some of my older material, it was just too much, man. And it was yelling to the point where I wasn't rapping at all, almost. To me, at least. And you're your biggest critic, of course. But, yeah, so with BOTZ, man, dude, he makes really, really, really good beats, man. Like, and it's weird to see some of the battlers come up nowadays that admittedly don't even make music. It's different, you know what I'm saying? Because, we first came up with the battle stuff, and I sound Stone Age by talking about it, but like, you pushed and hustled your stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like that was the goal to land, like, your Mac Lethals or whoever. And so now people just like, it's weird seeing people just admittedly like battling to climb the ranks of a system that's subjective anyway. So it's great to see people like Sue Surf having some sort of commercial success and Chris Brown extending the olive branch to like Arsenal and stuff. So that stuff's really, really good to see, man, for sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned Hunter Bolt's in there and everything, and he's also a very savvy mixed martial arts mind there. I noticed you battled Disaster in a UFC Octagon a while back. Was the vibe different for that altogether as compared to maybe like some of your other battles that take place in more, I guess, like conventional sort of settings?
Well, the funny thing is that I watched that battle back after. I took my son to see Bodied, and he loved it and everything. And I was sorry, he was like, man, Disaster, whatever. And I was like, yeah, man, it's my man. Like, we battle. So we did it in the battle in the Pay Dues Festival, and we were both under the impression that, you battle in the first round. If you win, you battle in the second round. Well, we both lost in the first round. So then they were like, yeah, you guys battle for third and fourth place. So the hilarity now is we were literally battling, like the winner of that battle got $100, right? So
yeah.
So we're battling with 5,000 people there, so it's really dope. Like Diabolic was there, and all the people and whatever. And they told us after Disaster had lost, they're like, before we do the finals, you got about 45 minutes and you two are going on. Now, watching it back, that's clearly, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to say, I'm going to go with low-hanging fruit. I'm going to make a bunch of Middle Eastern jokes. Pretty sure he's going to make a bunch of white trash jokes, and we'll make it work. Now, I love the battle looking back on it. If it happened today, people would be fucking upset, too. You know what I mean? Like, people would not be so receptive to it. But at the time, man, you're like, well, what am I going to do with you know what I mean? So I'm like pacing around, like, what kind of stereotypical things can I come up with? And he was doing the same. So it actually ended up being like a cool thing. And it was a really different experience with like the octagon and everything. And it was a good chance to redeem ourselves, because I know against like Dirtbag in the first round, I had good material and everything, but then I didn't realize my crowd. And the same thing happened to Diz. Like, I just had, like, stuff that didn't hit as hard, where Diz made a bunch of Spanish jokes, and the crowd was, like, 90% Spanish. So, but, yeah, it ended up being cool, man. Like, Diz is an incredible freestyler and everything, so.
Yeah, and I think I saw you put out a message, too, where you're saying one of the more underrated things in life is just how brutal a knockout is in combat sports, whereby people don't factor in the actual damage. What were you watching a particular event? Like, was there a certain knockout that, I guess, compelled you to put out that thought, or just, like, a general thinking of combat sports in general?
Yeah, man, no, it was, I've been, like, talking to people about it, man, and as far as, like, combat sports and knockouts and whatever, and I think this in a lot of things where a number is quantified. So when you think of like, a fighter with 41 knockouts, like each one of those knockouts, like he like knocked somebody unconscious. Like that's a crazy thing to think about. with padded gloves. You know what I mean? And as far as like, I remember the last knockout for Liddell. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that was hurting.
I don't know. Right. And I was like, oh man, like, and of course as years progress, all the CTE stuff, and man, I think when someone's just like, oh, you got knocked out, it just sounds so like, but the reality, man, like that, dude, there's people that, I was watching there's this Netflix documentary called Losers. If you get a chance, it has the guy who beat up Tommy Morrison. She stunned Tommy Morrison anyway. Somebody knocked him out right after that and beat him so bad he couldn't box anymore. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. That's one fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy sport to follow, and like to the point of the Liddell knockout too. I was actually doing like some play-by-play for that and sort of covering the event, and it was just sad too because he was fighting Tito Ortiz, who's not necessarily known for that knockout power, but he just went down with the first good shot.
Oh, I didn't even watch that. I felt bad that they even arranged that. I was referring to, who was it, Rampage that knocked him out, or was it Evans or something that really marked kind of the end of Liddell's? Well,
he was getting knocked out a bunch through that stretch. Like, he got knocked out by both those guys, like you said, and then Rich Franklin knocked him out too. And he's not a guy who's like super known for being like that one-punch KO artist either. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, man. Like that stuff just has to, you know what I mean? It has to take a toll, man. Like, so, and I was watching too, like, the crazy stuff is I was watching, it was when I was in Austin over spring break, they had some kind of like UFC thing on. It was a lower one, but there was dudes that were fighting. The one dude's record, I swear to God, he was like 3-13, and he was fighting someone who was like 5-9. I'm like, yo, it wasn't pride or anything, but it was a lower thing.
Was this recent? Like, was it Bellator or something like that?
Dude, it was something even lower that I hadn't heard of, man. But it was on TV in Austin, Texas, bro. And I was like telling the bartender, like, this is wild, bro. Like, because, in boxing, sometimes before you're even in the top 5, you have to have a record of like 31-1 or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And UFC, it seems there's more leeway. Like, understandably so. You could be like 20-6 and crack the top 10. You know what I mean? But yeah, these dudes were like rough, man. It was.
I guess to that point, would you like to see more judged battles come back in battle rap, or are you kind of content with like what the landscape is, where it's like people take into account the fact that there's different tastes people have, and it's more of a subjective sort of thing? Do you think there should be more judged battles?
No, I don't, bro. I really don't. I don't, because me personally, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with that some people do. So just take a random example, and I'm not throwing shade on this person or anything, but I saw a tweet about the T-Top Iron Solomon battle. And someone was like, damn, T-Top, you be coming up the wittiest angles, man. I don't know how you spun that Hitler thing. And then I was like, what? I wonder what he said. And you watch it, and he's like, talking about Hitler being a genius, and I'm like, bro, this is terrible. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
This is not good at all. Like, and T-Top is incredible. Don't get me wrong. You can't win them all, though. So, and that's just a loose example. Like, there's a lot of things that, and there's a lot of, somebody will be like, oh, this dude got bodied. And I'll watch it, and I'm like, yeah, he didn't, though. Like, that. So, for me, I guess I would have to have such absolute trust in the people that were judging, and how many times that we've seen from the grind time era or whatever, how many times can you really get 3 completely unbiased, exposed to every style of battle judge? You know what I mean?
And it's just going to go to overtime anyway, because people just want to hear more bars.
All the time, bro, all the time. And if you say overtime's not an option, now how do you weigh that this dude killed round 2 and might have edged another one, or the other dude edged the other 2? Now you're like, how do you factor in chokes? And now, then the battle becomes more about someone getting robbed or hosed, as opposed to, who like how good it was. Like I said, man, because it's all subjective, man, at the end of the day, I don't care for judge battles. I would rather not. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, it's unlike fighting because you can knock someone out in fighting. There's tangible things that could be, punches thrown, punches landed. Things like that are legit. You know what I mean? Whereas I've seen the one thing, and again, not to throw shade, but it's like a battle rap counter, and like it counts punches thrown, like as far
like
as,
CompuStrike figures sort of thing.
Yo, what is this? Yeah, it's like it has like colors, like, and it looks really legit. I'm not gonna lie, it looks really. But I'm like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? What in the world is this? How do you gauge a battle? Like, hypothetically, if you took Av against Pat Stay, Av is going to punch far more than Pat Stay is going to punch. You know what I mean? But Pat Stay might have a round where he just roasts. Like, how do you even judge that? So, I'm cool where it's at. Obviously, there are some things that need to be judged, the title match, which I think over the years they've done a pretty good job with the title decisions. I don't have a huge gripe with that.
Yeah, I know that's a fair point. But speaking of, heavy and, big punches and everything like that, it seems like Wretched Hive is pretty heavy. Who puts on the better live show, Wretched Hive or Alabama?
So I'm going to have to go with Wretched Hive, bro, because first of all, my man Richie is like 5'5", but homie can drink, man. Like the bottles look giant size in his hands and shit. He be getting torn up. Alabama, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, man. I think I thought I was a bigger fan of them than I was. So Alabama has like 45 number one hits, which is absurd.
Yeah.
And I probably like overall, and I've always asked this question, like how many songs by an artist till you deem that you're a fan? So I probably like 10 Alabama songs. To me, 10 is strong. That's a lot.
Oh, that's a good amount of their catalog, yeah.
Well, that's where it comes in, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, it's not. Because they only played like 4 of the songs because they had so many other hits. Like,
yeah, but it's all relative. Like there's like the 10 songs that you mess with and everything like that. Like for any other artist, I'd be like, oh yeah, 10 songs. It's like a whole record. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, right. Because that's what I'm saying. I'm like, yo, because I'm always trying to figure out if I could say I'm a Backstreet Boys fan or not because I like about 6 Backstreet Boys songs, right? But 6 is kind of a lot. Like. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, do I feel comfortable saying I'm a fan, or can I, they got a couple tunes to sound cooler. You know what I'm saying? I might have to be like, yo, you're a fan, bro. Like, just own it. So.
That's funny. I totally get what you mean. Yeah. No, that's funny.
Yeah, because it wasn't that good though, man. They looked their age, to be honest with you, man. and that's always killed me about. Bro, so the Rolling Stones came to Pittsburgh, I want to say fucking 4 years ago. And all these people are like, yo, you're going to go see Rolling Stones. I'm like, no, homie, he's like 72. And so they see the show. After the show, how was it? Yo, they were amazing. Literally, and I quote, Mick Jagger, he still like walks around the stage and dances and stuff. I'm like, is that what you're gauging it off of? How mobile this 70-something-year-old man is?
He's not bedridden.
No, I'm telling you, bro. He like walked all the way down the thing and walked back. I'm like, good for him that he can still fucking walk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would rather see him in maybe, I don't know, 75 or something. Like, but anyway, I think because I thought Alabama, they don't do a lot of that for their stage show. It was kind of boring, bro.
So the Rolling Stones aren't as mobile as like Victor Benjamin or Sam Adonis, for instance.
Yeah, I'm like, right. I'm like, what are we talking about here? Like, what are we excited about? Like, we're getting juiced about fucking this old man like going up and like doing weird shit to the mic. By the way, I saw my homie those two with the first underground wrestling show I've ever seen, and I was always upset that. When ECW was first coming up, I kind of missed the boat, and Pittsburgh was like one of their spots they would come to all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yo,
that was like their stomping
never-
grounds. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, shit. The best. First of all, I don't say rings, but it's not like the WWE. Like, people get slammed and the ring bounces like 5 feet in the air and shit. It's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
and then you're all like so close, and you know what I mean? Like, it is some shit. I would go, hands down, I would go to 100 different decent local shows before I go to like a WWE pay-per-view or some shit.
Oh, yeah, and I'm kind of curious when you're going to start your battle rap crew with Marv 1 and Laughingstock there, Nation of Conversation.
That's gonna be a goodie for sure. We already got, you know what I mean, me, Marv, Quest, and Chillin' and Josie boys. You know what I mean? We got Ben Diesel, Ken Marino, Leandro Garbosa, and Trash Gordon. Like, just absolute team throwaway. So, Laughingstock, I don't watch a lot of battles as of late, and not even on some like, like I'm above that shit. I just don't be having time. But I seen he had a 2-on-2 come out. That guy, I have to watch that shit. Laughingstock is a funny ass dude, man.
Yeah, and I noticed you also shouted out Sexy Boy as being like the greatest one-hit wonder of all time, which is absolutely accurate. But I also noticed you were shouting out the whole, Bret Hart situation there. Like, I mean, that's such a scumbag thing to do. I think the guy was like an amateur MMA fighter too, like had a bit of experience.
Oh, the guy who rushed Bret Hart?
Yeah, I think he had like a 2-1 amateur record from like the reports that I'd seen after the fact.
So, first of all, the Shawn Michaels shit, right? The fact that dude sung that himself, and like one of my favorite things to do is watch like wrestling shoots.
Oh yeah,
and it's pretty much 99% of people say Shawn Michaels is a complete scumbag. Like the only people that say he's not are Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
just his friends.
We're like, fuck that dude. Right. I from watching the wrestling shoots again. I don't know neither can I paint, but I got annoyed with like Bret Hart. He was always on some like bitter, you know what I mean? And one thing I thought Bret Hart would always do every interview, he always like downplays how good a popular wrestler is, and to try to show that he's like across the board fair, he'll give props to a real random like. So he's the type to be like, I never thought that Shawn Michaels was that good of a. This is random. I think he has said Shawn Michaels was good, but this is Shawn Michaels was that good technically, but I'll tell you someone who really was really good is Dean Malenko, and you're like, all right, dude, like I get what you're doing here. Like, let me throw shade and then throw love in a different direction. But yeah, that dude that rushed the ring is a complete cornball. Somebody had put up a picture afterwards of this dude with a mashed face, but I don't think that was him though.
No, and there was a couple things coming out of that too. Like people were like, "Oh, Simpsons predicted it," and they took like pictures from like 2 different episodes, like the one where like the likeness of Bret Hart was on there, and then there was like the guy with the dreads, but it was like 2 different episodes, and people are like, "Oh, wow, the Simpsons predicted it."
Yo, the Simpsons. I'm gonna tell you the funniest laughing. It's not even that funny. I just overhyped it, but having stuff we're talking about the Simpsons, and the Simpsons is 29 seasons. What the hell it is, right? But there was always one part of The Simpsons I remembered. Like, I don't know why, but it was always funny to me, this Chief Wiggum clip. And the one clip that is my go-to clip when I got to be like, yo, I always thought The Simpsons were funny. This is one of my favorites. Laughingstock remembered the same clip and said it first. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, bro. Like, there's no way of all the clips that's the one that you present as well. It was almost like the Step Brothers were like, did we just become best friends? Yup. Like, that's what it was. Crazy, bro. And it's not even just for the sake of I'm not going to basically they make an arrest. It might be the Sideshow Bob dude. And Bart's all excited. He's like, take him away, boys. And then Chief Wiggum's like, hey, that's my line. Take them away, toy. And it's not even that funny, again, right? But I remember crying when I seen it, like literally, because just fucking Chief Wiggum, right? So the fact that Laughingstock, he was like, yeah, the one episode I remember I always thought was funny was when I was like, no way, bro. Did I already say this? Like, am I real drunk and you're just making fun? He's like, nah. So,
that's mad funny.
Not a super funny story, but yeah, real crazy. Out of like 29 seasons, fucking how many episodes?
And to that point, too, like, I've had Laughingstock on my show, and we were, like, workshopping the idea of, like, doing a Simpsons bars battle and stuff like that. Would you want to stand opposite Laughingstock for something like that? I know you said you didn't want to be known necessarily as, like, you know, that niche rapper, I'm doing the compliment battles kind of guy, but would a Simpsons bars kind of battle entice you?
I think that would be fine. I think, to be honest, though, I think you kind of you touched on it before. Like, I've done so many regular battles. I don't think if I did a couple, you know what I mean, from a down, I don't think what's he doing? Like, I mean, I have like 100 and some regular ones, and the only thing with that is I'd have to really brush up on my Simpsons because I know the boy Laughingstock is dialed in, so I can't come out there and get bodied. You know what I'm saying? But I remember, like, the Simpsons went through a stage where it was like cool to say they weren't funny, and I was like, what? You know what I mean? Like, these different phases, like. Same thing with, like, Family Guy. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I understand some of the Family Guy critics. Family Guy is funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's not all pretend that we haven't seen some Family Guy shit and laugh. Like, now it's cool to act like they're not funny. Or, like, dude, they're funny.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, something becomes more commonplace, so I think people imagine they've, like, free reign to be like, oh, you know, that's not cool anymore. There's kind of like a hipstery sort of thing to it. But I kind of wanted to talk about some of your music, too. I noticed the Mount Oliver project has been really, like, you know, popping off lately, and a lot of people checking out the different material you're dropping from it and stuff like that, like the Keeps on Tickin' video, for instance, and also, you know, like some of your other tracks seem to be getting some traction as well. What are your thoughts on, you know, the reception to the project and everything like that?
So, man, it's been phenomenal, bro. Like, you know, now the Mount Oliver project is old now, you know what I mean? Think about it, but I remember when it came out, or when I was like finishing it, I was like, man, I'm not, you know, I'm independent in everything I do, so I'm gonna just do what when I get to the video and when it gets done, I'm gonna release it. I don't care if it's a year down the line or 6 months. So I ended up doing like 11 videos off of it, or something like that, and you know, I got the physical. This is probably the last album that I'll do physical copies, maybe just like 100 of the next one or whatever, or 200. And I've sold a lot of physical copies. And it's always funny because I do the little CD box shit. You know what I'm saying? I still walk around with that shit. But yeah, man, it's really turned out to be, man, incredible just from the production. Like you said, you know, I got production on there from 100 Bullets. I have, and Nestle has some production on there. I've been able to meet so many talented people, man. I, of course, battle rappers like, you know, Bender, rest in peace, bless the project, and respect the A, and Tony, and then, so I really wanted to encapsulate a lot of different things at the time. So the album before that, which I really liked, the Mountains and Molehills, is a sadder album because I was going through some things with my mom, my sister passing, so I was, you know, trying to get that out. Whereas when I was able to come back to the Mount Oliver project, I was able to finally just say, like, okay, now let me just get back to making some music. So yeah, I'm starting off the new project, and I really gotta get the pen moving, man. I fucking I'm not gonna lie, I spent spring break drinking like a fish, man. I realized something though, I can't be an alcoholic because I literally ran out of stamina. Like, I don't know how real alcoholics do it, man. Like, I hit like 9 days straight drinking. I only drink beer, by the way. So by the 9th day, I'm like, fuck, man. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That'd be a good country song, though.
Yeah. I had every reason to just be like, all right, man, get back on the horse and drink it. Like, you know, and I even was trying to convince myself, like, yo, have a couple brews, like, whatever. Dude, I'm good. You know, so then, I could never be an alcoholic. I don't know how the fuck they do it.
Yeah, some people can just keep up pace with that where I just, you know, can't even wrap my head around. But you've been really great with your time, man. I don't want to take up your whole night here. Is there anything you want to kind of add as a parting thought as we're wrapping up here?
No, man, like I said, I appreciate you for having me on, man. I got a lot of cool stuff lined up, man. Like I said, you know, I have another King of the Die battle coming up. Be cool. And then, yeah, man, just booking stuff, just trying to stay active, you know what I mean? Just keep moving. But, yeah, for sure, man, let them know, man, whenever this comes out.
Yeah, I mean, you represent so many platforms. Like King of the Dot, you really hold it down on. You have the strength of schedule there. But then to also see you on other platforms like No Coast, Smoked Out, Beast Mode, and stuff like that, I mean, it's a really good look. But I appreciate all the insights and everything, man. And best of luck going forward. And just enjoy the rest of your night, too.
Appreciate you, my man. Thank you.